Hey guys, Sammy here from the Ohio Fisherman. Today I'm going to show you guys how to make a plaster injection mold that does not require an injector. So what you're going to need is a mold box. I made this out of cardboard and duct tape, a little dowel rod, a bait to reproduce, this is just my P&T Outdoors soft-bodied crankbait prototype I'm going to be remaking, some kind of soap or shampoo, and then just plaster. So what you're going to do is you're going to cut a hole in your mold box just big enough for your dowel rod to go through, like so. Goes in this end. And it should be, the cardboard, I use cardboard, so the cardboard should be tight enough around it so where the plaster is not going to leak out around it when you pour. So then you have it go into the mold just like that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to mix up some plaster, pour it in about halfway up to the halfway point of the dowel rod. You're going to put the bait in the plaster, about halfway submerged in the plaster, and then so I'm going to do that really quick and then get back to you. Alright, so I mixed my plaster and I poured it into the box halfway up, and I have the lure and the dowel rod half submerged in the plaster. So now what you're going to do is just let it dry, which should take anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes, and I'll get back to you. Okay, so the first layer of plaster is dried, so now we're going to take the shampoo and we're just going to put some in there and then just rub it all over where the plaster is going to be contacting. So I'm going to do that really fast, and then I'm going to pour the next plaster and then wait for it to dry, and then I'll pull it all apart. Okay, so the top half has now dried. So now we're just going to peel off all the cardboard and then separate the two pieces of the mold. Alright. Looking good so far. Okay, there's our mold. Now we're just gonna try to pry it apart. So I'm gonna put the camera down for a second, and then try to ease it apart without cracking it. The not cracking it part is the hardest. Alright, I'm going to stop recording. Alright guys, unfortunately the mold, one of the halves of the mold cracked in two, but fortunately everything fits together nicely. So the next part is cutting a little groove into this part of the mold so that the plastic can seep from this into here. So you're going to take a knife and then just kind of whittle down a little groove into the bait so the plastic can be injected into the lure. just like that. So I'm going to do that, then I'll get back to you, and after that we should be ready to pour. Alright guys, so here's the finished mold. As you can see, it's got this nice open chamber and then that hole in the bottom where we will press the plastic into the body of lure body using this little dowel rod. And the dowel rod will just be pushed down through the mold, pressing all of the plastic into the lure. So I'm going to go try it really fast and then try to record it during the process. I don't know. It'll be kind of hard with one hand. We'll see. But alright, thanks for watching. Alright guys, we got our plastic all mixed up, so now I'm just going to pour it in there and then press it in to the lure mold with the dowel rod. I don't know how much I need, but that's probably good. Now we take the dowel rod and push all that plastic down into the mold. It came apart. Need a little bit stronger rubber bands. Alright, I don't think that was a good run. Alright, messed up. I'll get some stronger rubber bands and then try again. Alright guys, so it turns out to have actually worked beautifully. What appears to have happened is the cavity just filled up, and then I didn't know when to stop, and I just kept on pressing, and all that plastic had to go somewhere, so that was out the crack in the mold. But as you can see, here we have a still cooling, so I'm not going to completely demold it yet, but nicely injected mold. And the color of the plastic's a bit dull because when you first pour a plaster mold and then if you pour it that day, there's still a lot of moisture in the plaster, and so you can't. What you normally do with a plaster mold is you pull after a couple days when it fully cures, you take here it is. You take Mod Podge, which is like just a curing base. It's a sealer, and that seals the plaster, and it keeps the bait from sticking to the plaster. But the first couple of days, when there's still water in the mold, you can't do that yet, and the bait won't stick to the plaster. But still a little soft yet. So yeah, what I'm gonna do after all the moisture is evaporated from the mold, which will take, again, roughly 2 to 3 days, maybe longer. I'll take this Mod Podge and I'll just paint it everywhere that this plastic will touch. So like just this cavity, and then in here, and then in there. But it appears to be a very successful technique. The bait is fully formed, and I appear to have gotten all the cracks. And the reason I made this injector instead of the regular pouring two-piece. Here's an example of the regular pouring two-piece plaster mold. What you do is you just pour it straight into that little hole, and the problems that'll cause is you'll get little air pockets in the thing, and the bait doesn't always fully form because you're just relying on gravity to pull it down in. But now that you're just pushing all the plastic in, it has nowhere to go, and it fills up all those cavities completely. So I'm definitely going to start making the majority of my molds like this, because it appears to be very successful. And I think the only reason this cracked was when I was taking it apart is because it's too thin, and I ran out of plaster and I couldn't make it any thicker than that. Because on this side you could see how thick it is. But I'd say that's a pretty good, solid success. Alright, I'll take it out now. And it looks like I'm going to have to do a little bit of trimming on the bait. But there you have it. Perfectly formed. I could just use this right now. And there's a couple little trimmings on it. But what this is a soft-bodied crankbait. If you haven't watched the channel before, this is a lure I make to basically just make a weedless crankbait. You rig it on a swim bait hook, a screw lock swim bait hook. You just screw it through the nose. And it has to be a fairly big swim bait hook, like a 7/0. That's what I use, and it swims like a swims like a crankbait, but it's all the advantages of a soft plastic. So, yeah, I'd say I'm very happy with this. And so yeah, that's the video. Thank you for watching. Another thing really quickly before I go, if you're interested in buying these, I do sell them. I'll put a link to where you could buy these. Right now they're only available in the prototype pack because it's a prototype lure. I do sell other lures too. So I'll put a link to the website, and thank you for watching.